Hey everyone! Before we open today's file, please make sure to follow us on Instagram at d.s.radio, where you can find all the images that go along with today's case. You can drop us an email at contact.dsradio@gmail.com. You can find all of our socials in the Linktree bio on our Instagram profile, including links to merch. If you're feeling especially generous, you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/dystopian simulation radio, where you can get access to our exclusive Instagram page and make suggestions for upcoming episode topics that you would like us to cover. Speaking of Patreon, thanks to our Patreons, Riff Cult, Cropley Crab, Cash Broadus, Raspberry Jr., Jason R. Nelson, Creepy Paper, Jamie Sook, Michael Laughlin, Lindsay Keller, Mike Wright, Greer Weaver, Kelsey Carruthers, Linz Gibbon, Drake Holvig, Only Child, Michael M, Wesley Akers, Riaz K, Emily Medeiros, Pip, Heather Wynn, Graves, Devon Sweatshirt, The Ordained Sinister Minister, and Philip Hoffman.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this festive edition of Dystopian Simulation Radio. I'm your host, Chris.
And I'm Linz.
How's it going, Linz?
Yeah, going good. We just finished recording our special Christmas episode. It was very fun. So you can all look forward to that this coming Christmas. And yeah.
That's right. It's going to be out on Christmas Day. We've got a very special guest, but you're going to have to wait until Christmas morning to unwrap your present. But trust us, it's going to be a good one. It'll be out on Christmas Day, so you can feel free to listen to us on Christmas or Boxing Day, or if you don't have Boxing Day in your country, the day after Christmas when you go back to work.
And if you don't go back to work, it's the boring day where nothing's open and the fun has ended. Anyway.
Linz, we're going to be talking about something interesting today, very interesting. But before we get into that, where can people find any associated images?
So you can find any of the images that go along with this episode and every other episode on our Instagram at d.s.radio. And you can also support us on Patreon at patreon.com/dystopian simulation radio.
Yeah, we've had a really big surge of people joining us recently over on Patreon. So thank you very much to everybody, no matter what level you joined us at. We really appreciate the support, and it helps to keep the lights on around here. So, Linz.
Yes.
It is December and Christmas is coming. Can you give me any memories of Christmas morning when you were a child? You know, any particular presents that you remember getting as a kid?
I remember getting a Mr. Frosty. I did have better presents than that, you know, over Christmases, but I remember getting a Mr. Frosty, and for some reason, I don't know what it was. I think it was the advert that it made it look like it was so easy to like make slush, you know, like a slushy.
Yeah.
But you really had to push down on that Mr. Frosty hat and like grind that ice. Like a kid could not do that. It was impossible. You did, you know, and like you had to work so hard for that slushy that like when it fell in the cup, by the time you made any amount of like shaved ice, it's already melted.
Oh.
But you know, it was exciting nonetheless. I had a lot of better gifts than that, but that's the first thing that came to mind when you asked me, and I don't know why.
You know, it's funny that you mention that, because I that was on my Christmas list about 3 Christmases in a row, and I never got one.
Oh no, that's so sad. What did you get instead then?
I wasn't bad off. I got lots of the things.
You know what was good? getting like franchise toys like Star Wars,
Yeah.
Pokemon, like stuff like that. Power Rangers.
Oh, yes. I see. I remember getting Power Rangers as a kid, definitely, but I think that they might be knockoff.
We didn't know.
No,
Wrestling. You must have got wrestling toys, Chris.
I,
The
d-
Ghostbuster car.
I
Dude.
did, I did, but I didn't get that. Wasn't for Christmas. I think it was for my birthday. And
Yeah.
I do remember getting some Star Wars toys when I was a kid. Especially, I got a speeder bike with a stormtrooper from Return of the Jedi on the front,
yes.
and there was a little button on the back, and if you pressed it, the entire thing exploded, and the guy
I think I
shot
had
off.
that.
Oh,
Yeah.
sweet.
Yeah.
I've still got the little stormtrooper somewhere, but I don't have.
Same.
I think I've got a couple of pieces of the
Yeah,
of the
the bike
speeder
is
bike.
long gone. Yeah.
Yeah. Any listeners, if you want to send it to me, or I tell you, actually, what I really did want was Jabba the Hutt's palace. You can send that to me, and I will
had
gladly
Jabba the
have
Hutt.
it. And now I just look like him.
No, you don't. And I look like Nicole Kidman in Paddington Bear, apparently.
Spoilers. What we're actually going to be talking about today is why do we believe in Santa Claus? Before you answer, let me just address the children in the room. We believe in Santa Claus because he's very much real. And Mr. Claus has a top legal team to combat slander against his non-existence. So now run along now and play with your Thundercats figures or whatever it is you play with these days.
Jesus Christ, Thundercats.
Okay, have they gone? Adults, this is on your heads. Okay, why do we believe in a rotund man covered in bells who fits down our chimneys and lurks at our children's beds, leaving his socks there? Well, let's investigate. Linz, what age did you stop believing in Santa Claus?
Really young, I think, because that was clearly my dad biting into apples and drinking, pretending to be a reindeer. And I even think I think that I knew that wasn't reindeer teeth. Let's say that. And also, I think that we put out things that he specifically liked. And also, I was like a little investigator even when I was a kid, and my dad might hear this. So I did like I was awake, I wasn't sleeping, and I was peeking out of the door, and I saw my dad. I saw my dad taking the toys down. I saw him. Sorry, Dad. You tried, but you could have at least put the costume on when you were sneaking the toys to the downstairs room. You can't just go out in your dad pajamas and expect me to be fooled.
Oh, early 90s Dave, what are you doing? Well, I, for one, still believe in Santa Claus. But let's look into his...
Excuse me?
sometimes dark origins.
Chris, you can't just skip that. What?
I still believe. I want to.
In like okay, I was going to say, is this like a Fox Mulder way? Okay.
Look, Santa Claus abducted my sister, okay?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, he could be a really good serial killer, but okay, let's go forward with the story.
Circa 720 AD, which, for context, the Roman Empire, still going strong and it's around its maximum size, a boy was born in Turkey named Nicholas. I'm sure it probably wasn't pronounced that way, but he was called Nicholas. And this is roughly where all reliable sources on Nicholas stop.
So it's like he was born.
Possibly.
And the trail goes cold.
He was reportedly born to wealthy Greek parents, and his uncle was the local bishop. Recognizing that his nephew was talented in the ways of the Lord, he was like, all right, you're a bishop now. And Bishop Nicholas became a thing.
What are how can you be talented in the ways of the Lord, Chris? What does that mean?
I mean, from my reading about it, I think he was just like really good at like memorizing scripture.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So he'd be like schooling his parents. He'd be like, no, that's not what the Lord says on like page 12.
He was like a god stan. It's like the Pokedex for me.
Regardless of his faith, though, Nicholas was very much a man of the people. showing genuine concern for the unwashed masses. But then, both of his parents died, and suddenly Nicholas was left with a massive fortune. But as a bishop, he had no interest in personal wealth. What was he to do? He began to use his wealth to help those in the local area, but he didn't want the kudos associated with that, so he tried to stay as incognito as possible.
Ooh, like an anonymous tip jar tipper or something.
We also have a well, he's not a bishop, he's a minister. But we have a minister who tips our tip jar, so thank you very much.
The Sinister Minister.
The Sinister Minister,
Hello,
yes.
Sinister Minister. Okay, back to the story.
So Nicholas's most famous exploit was when he overheard the tale of a local devout Christian who'd fallen on hard times. The forces of Satan had plotted against him, and he had lost all of his savings. And this was a slippery slope for the man, as he had 3 daughters, each more beautiful than the last.
Ooh.
And he intended to marry them off, good men.
I thought you said marry them all. I was like, what the hell?
But in order to marry them off to other people, he would need to stump up a sufficient dowry for each, as was the style at the time. Without this, no man would ever think of taking their hand in marriage, no matter how beautiful they are. And falling on hard times, this means that the daughters would be forced to become prostitutes. Nicholas saw this as an opportunity to help them. However, he wanted to avoid the thanks of the family being given charity. So he waited until nightfall. The girls were preparing for bed, and the man was downstairs trying to balance the books, when Nicholas, with his long beard obscuring his face and a dark cloak covering his body, scaled the home and dropped a bag of gold coins through the window, landing in a sock or a shoe.
Oh.
In the morning, the man rejoiced, as it was enough to marry off his eldest daughter. A quick wedding was arranged, and shortly after her marriage, another mysterious bag landed through their window. The second daughter was then married off, and another bag came through the window shortly after. But this time, the man had been waiting in the shadows and confronted Nicholas, prostrating himself at his feet and thanking him for his generosity. Nicholas ordered the man never to breathe a word of what he had done and disappeared into the night, like Batman.
So he kind of did what I did with my dad, but I didn't confront my dad. Or did I? And he's like, don't tell Mom.
Well, obviously the man wasn't very good at keeping Nicholas's words, because soon Nicholas's generosity was known far and wide. And some of his other many gestures include saving 3 boys from a maniacal butcher intent on selling their meat as pork during a famine.
Oh my God, that's awful. I didn't expect you to say something like that in this episode.
Yeah, and Nicholas ramped up to actual Batman levels of good doing.
Yeah.
After that, he became known as a savior of children. And he was also known to be famous for calmly praying on the shore during storms to prevent the sea from taking lives. And therefore he became famous as a friend of sailors. Oh.
Christ, that was horrible.
So now we can see how the first part of the Santa Claus mystery falls into place. This was Saint Nicholas, or as his friends called him, jolly old Saint Nick, until he died in 343 AD at the age of 73 on December 6th.
Oh.
He was adopted as the patron saint of sailors, who then spread his message far and wide. His influence spread from Turkey to Europe, and weirdly Vikings built a cathedral for him in Greenland, and the Spanish founded early settlements in Haiti and Florida, both called St. Nicholas. Thousands of churches have been named after him worldwide, including 400 alone in the UK.
Ooh, like that man not keeping his mouth shut really got out of control.
Yeah.
Flash cut to me leaving apples out for my dad to bite, pretending he's a reindeer.
Is that what your dad liked? Apples?
No, but you have to put an apple for the reindeer or a carrot, don't you? And then
I always put a carrot.
Yeah, then you put like cookies. Oh, yeah, he likes apples. So it's not even a reindeer thing. It's meant to be a carrot. See, I told you. The evidence was just too strong.
Let's leave out an apple and a pint of Stella for Santa.
Yeah, and a mince pie. That specific brand.
The good ones, the good ones. Aye. So how did this kindly bishop turn into a red-faced man who shakes his belly like a bowl full of jelly? Well, time. By the 16th to 17th century, in Europe, St. Nicholas was well established as a gift bringer in December, although most likely on December 6th. Enter stage right Martin Luther, famous for the Protestant Reformation and the namesake of Lutheranism. Linz, you don't know any of this stuff because you went to Catholic school.
It was an awful experience. Thanks for laughing, Chris.
But you don't know any of this stuff.
No.
Anyway, Martin Luther was famous for being a pooper of parties. While he was cool with the gifts, maybe they should just shift the focus from St. Nicholas to a little guy called Jesus.
Ooh.
So he put forward that the Christkindl, a small cherub-like baby Jesus, was the one who delivered the gifts.
No way.
And he was told to naff off by most of the world, but in Central Europe, Christkindl took hold for many years and is still celebrated in some areas of Austria and Germany today. I would say this is a good idea, but whenever Austria and Germany get together and agree on something, the result is never good.
Chris, stop. It's the Christmas episode. We don't need any Hitler.
Is Hitler still alive?
That's an actual episode, by the way. You can listen to it. Chris has a thing. I told you. He's got a thing for Nazis.
I watched Indiana Jones too many times when I was a kid. That's a Christmas movie.
Yeah. Too many Saturdays at Tynemouth Market.
So, you might have noticed that Christkindl sounds rather similar to Kris Kringle.
Yes.
And that is indeed where the American Santa Claus roots come from, or it's so believed, an amalgamation of St. Nicholas and the baby Jesus. But we'll get onto that in
a hybrid.
Bit.
Like a
yes.
What's it called? When the Power Rangers.
A chimera.
No, when the Power Rangers all go together and say it's morphin time. What is it called?
Morphin time.
They go, it's morphin time.
Go Power Rangers! That song is absolutely banging, by the way.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Oh. In 17th to 18th century England, a rival to St. Nicholas was picking up momentum. A personification of Christmas known as
Father Christmas,
who had been simmering away off and on due to religious trends since the 15th century. So, we're getting into more familiar territory here.
Yeah.
Except Father Christmas at this time, represented as a skinny and exceptionally old man with a long white beard and generally wearing green clothing.
You see, I just would... The green, maybe, but I thought he wouldn't have developed any of the look yet, which is kind of true. But imagining a skinny Santa... That's so weird.
Father Christmas differed from St. Nicholas as he was not really a gift giver. Rather, his arrival signalled the time for feasts, excessive drinking, and poor decisions in a time before effective contraception. By the Victorian era, the 19th century, Christmas had changed from a gaudy communal feast into a small family affair that was more children-centric, and Father Christmas began to become central as a gift-giving figure and eventually synonymous with Christmas itself. Now, while all of this was going on, in the 18th century, over in colonial America, British and Dutch influences mixed together, and Father Christmas was combined with Santa Claus. More on him later. And they all became Santa Claus. So the American influence on Christmas through works such as The Night Before Christmas, and moving into the 19th century, the images of cartoonist Thomas Nast, all the festive Power Rangers combined. Go, St. Nicholas, Father Christmas, and Santa Claus form of Santa Claus! However, initially, I had no idea about this. Santa Claus was diminutive, which is the reason that allowed this little fella to scramble down your chimney and leave some presents in your socks.
What?
He was originally a very small man.
Like Stuart Little. That's so creepy, just scuttling down your chimney and going in your sock drawer. That's fucking horrible.
Over time, he rapidly evolved across the year into the portly gentleman that's fully sized that we know today, completely of reindeer, sleigh, elves, and eventually a wife. By the 20th century, Santa was quite as we know him today. And there's a famous fact that Santa's red and white costume was due to the Coca-Cola adverts that featured him, red and white being the brand colours of Coca-Cola. But this is entirely false.
Yeah, I did hear, I heard people saying that, but that cannot be true.
No, the red and white was fairly well established in some parts of America at this point, but the true part of it is that Coke's popularity did help to standardize the depiction of Santa Claus worldwide.
Mm.
So here we are then, and Santa Claus, the Santa that we all know and love. But St. Nicholas's evolution is not quite a straight line from bishop to Santa. It's more like a winter's tree full of bare branches splitting off in different directions and evolving in some quite bizarre ways. I'd like to talk about some other odd Santa Claus things. And I say odd as to us in the West, or in England, I should say. So in central Alpine folklore, St. Nicholas is still much like his original bishoply form, but with one exception. He does not work alone. He is in a tag team with his good cop, bad cop partner. Have you heard of this? Do you know who this is?
Is it some Krampus-esque figure?
You are right. It's not Krampus-esque. It is Krampus.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yes, so St. Nicholas and Krampus will visit all children on December the 5th and judge the children. If you are good, St. Nick will reward all the good boys and girls with modest presents like dried fruits and chocolates.
Ooh, dried fruits.
Well, to be fair, that's preferable, because if you are bad, Krampus is coming to town. And he's fucking pissed.
Yeah, he's a horrible bugger.
Linz, please take a look at this picture of Dear Krampus and describe this festive freak to our listeners.
Okay. Oh my God. This is possibly the greatest illustration I've ever seen. So we have Krampus looking like the devil, basically. He's got horns and long, pointy, elfish ears, kind of like a wolf man, a big, long nose, a really long tongue with a pointed tip. He's got black, thick fur all over his body. What looks like kind of like a cow's tail. And he's stuffing a small boy into a wicker backpack. Like he's going to take him away. And there's chains on the floor as if he chained up this bad kid. And then there's a little girl sitting next to this basket free, with a little basket of apples, not looking concerned at all for the other child who's being shoved in a basket by what essentially is the devil.
Well, presumably she's a good little girl, and she's been given a basket of apples.
Yeah, good or not, basket of apples or not, if you looked up and saw that thing shoving a kid, this thing is really scary, like no shit.
I mean, yes, essentially he's represented as the devil incarnate. And if you're judged by the tag team champions of Christmas to be a bad boy or girl, oh shit, Krampus gets to have some fun. First, he's going to give you coal.
Mm.
And then he's going to string you up and whip you with birch rods, which some people pay good money for, but not normally children. A birch rod is essentially a group of twigs from a birch tree tied together, and it has been used as an alternative to the cat of nine tails.
Yikes.
He will then also reportedly bundle up especially naughty children, like the child in this photograph, to transport them off to hell.
Jesus Christ.
where he'll either eat them, drown them, or just drop them off and say, this is where you live now.
What would you like the outcome to be if you were the naughty kid and you got transported to hell? You can be eaten, drowned, or just dropped off in hell alone.
I mean, it depends. Do I have any real estate in hell?
Probably not. You're like literally a small child who probably just spilled a cup of milk one day.
And just eat me, Krampus. Just get it over and done with.
I think I'd like a wander around the hell landscape. Maybe not, because it's meant to be really horrible, but it could be really cool. Who knows?
Merry Christmas, kids.
You know what? It's a lot more like here in the UK in the modern age. It's like if you misbehave, you'll get a piece of coal and you won't get any gifts, and then you're like that would be pretty bad. Everyone else has gifts and you don't. And then there's this alternative. If you're bad, Krampus is going to take you to hell and whip you and eat you. I mean, that would make me behave a lot more, I think, because that's scary. And it's tall. That's a big creature. Horrible. No.
Yes, he's a tall fellow.
He's awful.
Krampus and Saint Nick are tight, so don't think that Krampy is acting rogue. This is condoned behaviour by the Alpine Santa. And apparently Krampus also sometimes just goes off scripts and abducts beautiful women.
Run, Chris, run. Save yourself.
Oh no!
Oh no, please chase me.
The 6th of December is St. Nicholas Day, and it is in much of Europe. But the 5th of December is all about Krampus, baby. And in modern times, young men dressed up as hairy, horned beasts. They visit local houses and businesses and scare the living Christmas out of children. The Krampus Run is another event in which drunken Austrians maraud through the streets, attempting to scare everyone whilst dressed as man-goats.
Oh, this sounds like my kind of event. Take me there.
Well, in 2013, 8 people were admitted to hospital with broken bones following the Krampus Run, and another 60 were provided medical attention. Fights have been known to break out between those playing Krampus and the spectators when the audience seek revenge for whippings and attacks that Krampus inflict on the audience.
Just a weekend in Berlin.
In the Netherlands and Belgium, Santa Claus is a relatively familiar figure to us. Very similar to Santa. But, how can I put this? Santa's little helper is problematic, to say the least. Linz, do you know why his helper is a bit of an issue?
No. I've no clue. Is he like a... Oh my God, why was I going to say... Is he like a molester?
Well, I mean, Krampus is, so
Yeah.
hey. Well, could you just take a quick look at this photograph and describe Santa's little helper, or should I say Santa Claus's little helper?
Oh, so I'm looking at... This is a really disturbing and horrible image. I think this is worse than Krampus. It's 3 Caucasian women in blackface makeup with little shower caps or like bonnets on. Oh yeah, awful, like afro kind of wigs. Yeah, I can. Problematic is a very light way of putting that. Straight up racist.
Well, this is Zwart Piet, or Black Pete.
Black. Yeah.
And the name says it all. Supposedly, Black Pete is a being with black skin and frequently portrayed by Caucasians in blackface. Yikes. Obviously, times change, and in more recent years, Black Pete has been replaced by Sooty Pete, who has streaks of soot on his face as opposed to that. Now, Santa Claus is sort of Pikachu to Santa's Raichu, an earlier evolution of the character, and he has some unique aspects to him. For one, he arrives on a steamship.
Okay.
From Spain.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that does he bring his goods from there or something?
Now, supposedly, this is because Santa Claus traditionally brings mandarin oranges. And as the name might suggest, Mandarin oranges do not come from Spain. Originally, anyway, but never mind. Santa Claus then moves from ship to horse and visits every town, bringing joy and problematic helpers to all the little boys and girls. just to go back to Black Pete for a second. So yeah, obviously it's ended up in this sort of horrible, well, racist caricature. It's not really our place to be commenting on the cultures of other countries, but it is a rather unfortunate thing. And as we talked about, Sooty Pete is becoming a lot more popular these days, but you still can see Black Pete quite a lot in the countries that celebrate Santa Claus. So I think we'll be seeing less of him as the years go on, and probably more and more Sooty Pete. And I, for one, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, sure.
Moving on, Pierre Noel, or Papa Noel, is a very similar figure to Santa, but he has retained his figure, appearing thin and gaunt. In some areas of Germany, though, he is accompanied by Pierre Foutard, also known as Father Whipper, who will beat the shit out of naughty children with his handy whip.
Much like Krampus, but in man form.
Exactly. So take a look at this picture and say what you see.
This creature here, is this the Whipper?
This is the Whipper.
That's horrific. Okay, so it's a man, basically a figure of a person, but as sort of like a cape or a coat or a cloak, it's like straw, a few layers of straw. And then he's got kind of a goat's head mask that also looks like it's made out of straw or organic materials. No details on it, just kind of brown and dark and very, very fucking creepy. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it's like Santa made friends with the Wicker Man.
And he's in this picture. He's standing next to a statue of the crucifixion, which is really adds an extra layer of horror to this.
Well, I really wanted to bring up Papa Noel for one fact that I love, which is that in Cajun culture, Papa Noel arrives in Louisiana to each house, not by sleigh, but by canoe towed by 8 alligators.
That's amazing.
Yeah, Papa Noel is the badass of the Santa world.
That's crazy. I love that.
As you mentioned before, not all personifications of Christmas are so similar to Santa or are actually even human. In Finland, for example, gifts are brought by the Yule goat.
Yeah, same with Sweden.
Joulupukki. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I'm sure you can school me on that one, but Joulupukki?
Yule.
Joulupukki. Now, these days, he's largely just Santa Claus, to be fair. But originally, he was a goat man who brought joys and gifts to all.
Yeah.
Others to mention are the 3 kings who distribute presents in many Spanish-speaking countries traditionally, the Christmas gnomes in Norway and Sweden, St. Basil does it in Greece, and Grandfather Frost in and around Russia.
Ooh, Grandfather Frost. I like that.
But over in Iceland, it's fucking mental.
Just that as a quote from Chris. Over in Iceland, it's fucking mental. Are we talking about the frozen food discount shop? Are we talking about Iceland?
Let me tell you. So,
Bjork comes on a swan and just throws shit at your head.
high up in the Icelandic mountains, there lives some giants. There's Grilla, and she's a giant who is an appetite for the flesh of mischievous children, whom she cooks in a large pot. Her husband, Lepulul, is lazy and mostly stays at home in their cave, apparently. They also have a Yule cat, who is a huge and vicious cat who lurks about in the snowy countryside during Christmas time and eats people who have not received any new clothes to wear before Christmas Eve.
Oh, yes, I've actually heard of this. Yeah, I've heard of this before.
So, Gryla and her husband have 13 sons. So, her husband obviously isn't that lazy. But in the days
Gets
leading
up
up...
sometimes.
In the days leading up to Christmas, they let their sons out one by one to cause mischief all over Iceland. And together, these pranksters are known as the Yule Lads.
Okay.
So, I'm going to read these to you.
Okay.
On the 12th of December, Stilkölpl arrives, and the English translation is sheep. And sheep harasses sheep, but is impaired by his stiff peg legs. On the 13th of December, Gelgja, or Gully Gork, arrives, who hides in gullies, waiting for an opportunity to sneak into the cowshed.
Okay. And do what?
I don't know, get freaky with cows. On the 14th of December, Stuther, or Stubby, arrives, who is abnormally short and steals pans to eat the pie crust left on them.
Oh, that's kind of sweet.
On the 15th of December, Plufskulgi, or Spoon, arrives, who steals and licks wooden spoons and is extremely thin due to malnutrition.
What a monster.
Then on the 16th of December, Potskifil, or Pot Scrap, appears, and he steals all your leftovers from your pots.
Oh, I like them. They're like little, kind of like in England, we have like sprites and stuff. Aren't they similar? Like just little mischievous goblin things.
The next one. Askilir, or English bowl licker.
That's like an insult.
Yeah. So he hides under beds, waiting for someone to put their asker, which is a type of bowl with a lid, which is used, and he then steals it for reasons unknown. On the 18th of December, Hortsgerir comes, who's known as Door Slam. And he likes to slam doors, especially during the night, waking people up like an annoying poltergeist.
A festive poltergeist.
On the 19th of December, Skjörgarmor, or Sky Gobble, arrives, who has a great affinity for skyr, which is a type of yogurt.
They're really specific, mischievous things.
Well, just wait for the next one, because on the 20th December, that is when Bulskakrir comes out, who is known as Sausage.
Oh no, not the sausage.
He hides in the rafters and snatches sausages that are being smoked.
But is he a sausage?
No,
Okay, he's just called sausage.
that would be cannibalism.
No, but I mean like birds eat each other. Like, is he just a big sausage like in the rafters?
in our continuity on this Christmas edition of DSR, then yes, he's a big sausage.
My favourite so far is spoon and sausage.
Spoon and sausage. Well, on the 21st of December, Glugagir comes, who's known as Window Peeper.
Oh, Lord.
And he is a snoop who looks through windows in search of things to steal. And probably a few other things as well. On the 22nd of December, Gattaparfur arrives, who is called Doorway Sniffer. Oh, and
Always.
he give me strength. He has an abnormally large nose and an acute sense of smell, which he uses to locate leaf bread.
I think we met Doorway Sniffer in the Katami Invaders episode.
Oh well, getting close to the big day here, and on the 23rd of December, Ket Karokker comes out, who is also known as Meat Hook. He does what he says on the tin and uses a hook to steal meat.
Meat Hook. I think the sleep deprivation has kicked in because this is fucking getting me.
There's only one of them left. I can get through this. Okay.
What was it? Backdoor Sniffer? No, Doorway Sniffer. No, not backdoor sniffer. Okay. That was a Doorway Sniffer.
Doorway Sniffer, yes.
And then Meat Hook, and then who?
And then finally,
okay,
on the 24th of December, Kata Sneaker comes out, who is known as Candle Stealer, who follows children in order to steal their candles, which were once made from tallow and thus edible.
Okay.
Merry fucking Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Oh.
Watch out for Door Sniffer and Meat Hook. They'll get you.
Watch out for Sausage Sniffer.
If Sausage Sniffer doesn't get you first.
God, sorry. Apparently his full name is Sausage Swiper.
So keep your sausages safe this Christmas.
Yeah.
Hide your meat. And close the door maybe.
Yeah. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this Christmas journey through the strange origins behind jolly old Saint Nick. But two more things to talk about, Linz.
Firstly, it's still going.
It's still going. Firstly,
okay.
Tell me, where is Santa from?
Turkey.
Well, yes, but where is Santa Claus from?
I don't know. Iceland. No. Norway.
Okay. Well, there's lots of different places. There's lots of different places that people claim that he comes from. So many in the West believes that he lives either in the North Pole or Lapland, technically the Finnish bit of Lapland. Yeah. However, Norway takes issue with this and claims that Dobrak town in Norway is actually the homes of Santa. Danes believe that he lives in Greenland, and those who believe in Santa Claus believe he comes from Spain. I would like to propose a new theory, however. Santa lives on the moon. Think about it. Nobody has ever found Santa's workshop, except two men, Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong. One small step for man, one giant leap for elf kind. Now, we've never gone back to the moon due to drawing Santa's ire, but he visits us regularly. Not just on Christmas.
He's an alien.
Exactly. He's sighted
Fuck.
around the world every night of the year. Santa Claus is an alien. His sleigh is responsible for hundreds of UFO sightings. He abducts those who've been extra bad each year and probes them to promote good behavior in the coming year. The truth is out there, and we will get to the bottom of it.
Case cracked. That makes perfect sense. It makes more sense than all the other things. Why not? He's got a craft.
He does. He's got an unidentified flying object, to be fair.
Yes, he does. He's got a craft. Oh my God, he's got powers.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us on this Christmas-themed edition of Dystopian Simulation Radio. We do have another Christmas episode coming out, which is going to be on Christmas itself. It's a little bit different from this. Would you like to give any kind of breadcrumbs for the listeners, Linz?
Well, we have a special guest in the Christmas episode, and let's just say things get a bit spicy. And Chris and I, relationship may have been tested a little bit. We may have had to compete against one another in some kind of way for something. So yeah, it's a very different kind of episode than what we normally do, but it is so fun. We had so much fun doing it, and we think you're going to really like it.
Yes. So please tune in on Christmas Day, or you can listen afterwards and just cook yourself a whole nother meal and pretend
Why
it's
not?
second Christmas. Why not? But thank you very much, everybody, for listening today. You can see all of the images associated with this episode and all the others over on our Instagram, which is
d.s.radio. And we also have a Patreon, which is patreon.com/dystopian simulation radio. And we have a tip jar if you want to leave us a little tip and help us keep the lights on, as Chris would say. And yeah, Chris, this episode was so fun. Thank you so much. I've learned a lot, actually. And it's honestly hilarious. I've had a good laugh today and I'm excited for Christmas. So thanks so much, Chris.
You're very welcome. Don't forget, all of our links can be found in the link in our Instagram bio on the link tree there. We do have some exciting things coming up next year. Some things that you don't know about, Linz. Some things which maybe I don't know about as well, because we keep things secret for one another. But we do have some things that we've planned together as well, including some potential merchandise, which may be coming your way in the new year. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we also have a new artwork by Hans Krausum Art, and it's awesome. Go to the Instagram to take a look at that. Chris and I have been turned basically into Mulder and Scully, and it's so good. So the new artwork is so amazing. Go check it out.
Yes, thank you so much for that artwork. And if any of our listeners out there are artistically talented, want to do some artwork for us, feel free, submit it. We'd love to see it. Until next time, though, remember, Santa Claus is watching.
Bye. Ah!